What would you do if you were the weakest, most pathetic person on earth, forced to watch the people you hate the most get everything they ever wanted? Would you give up? Would you curse the world? Or would you endure the agonizing pain of bleeding out, starving, and stabbing yourself to death exactly 4,050 times just to travel back in time and slit their throat before they ever gain their power? Today, we are diving into a story of absolute madness, crazy determination, and a protagonist who turns the ultimate cheat skill into an absolute nightmare. This amazing series is based on a hit light novel written by the author Shin Noah. It was later turned into a famous manhwa with beautiful illustrations by the artist Bill Kay. The story has gained millions of views around the world because it takes the classic tower climbing genre and flips it on its head. This is SSS Class Suicide Hunter, and this is the first part. Welcome to Otaku Tea Time, where we spill the tea on manga, manhwa, and webtoon stories. If you don't want to read hundreds of chapters, don't worry, I got you. Grab your tea, sit back, and let's get into the story. Just a quick disclaimer before we begin. I'm currently dealing with some pretty bad sinus congestion right now. And to be honest, I can barely hear myself talk. But I'm still going to give it my absolute best to try to tell this story as good as possible for you guys. Also, I'm giving it with my all with the Korean names, but please forgive me in advance if my pronunciation misses the mark. I really appreciate your patience with me on this one. That being said, let's officially jump into the story. Our story begins in a world that has been changed forever by the sudden appearance of the tower. This mysterious structure rose from the earth, bringing with it untold secrets. Like many stories of its kind, the tower brought monsters, magic, and awakened individuals known as hunters. It is a place of infinite danger, but also infinite wealth, fame, and power. At the absolute bottom of this new social ladder sits our main character, Kim Gong-ja. At the start of the story, to call Kim Gong-ja a loser would be an understatement. He's an F class hunter with zero skills, zero talent, and zero prospects. He has no family, no friends, and absolutely no future. He lives in a cramped, moldy apartment, scraping by while watching the exploits of the world's greatest hunters on television. And the hunter he watches the most, the one he is utterly obsessed with, is the Flame Emperor Yo Soha. At 32 years old, Yo Soha is the number one hunter in the world. He is handsome, impossibly strong, globally adored, and currently the only person who have cleared the 40th floor of the tower. But to Gongja, the Flame Emperor is a source of burning, suffering envy. Gongja spends his nights drinking cheap alcohol, glaring at the television, and violently cursing his own pathetic existence. He doesn't just want to be successful. He specifically wants to be exactly like the Flame Emperor. One night, completely drowning in his own misery, Gongja screams at the moon. He curses the gods. He curses the tower. And he begs with every fiber of his being for a skill. Just one skill to make him special. And to his absolute shock, the tower answers. A golden system message appears before him. The tower, acknowledging his unprecedented, pathetic levels of extreme envy toward Yosoha, grants him an S plus rank skill. The system window shines brightly in his dark room. The skill is literally called I want to become just like you. Gongja is ecstatic. An S plus skill. He's finally made it. But then he reads the skill's description, and his heart completely drops into deep despair. The skill allows him to copy one skill from another person, but the activation requirement? He has to be killed by the person he wants to copy the skill from. It's a literal suicide skill. What good is an S plus skill if you have to die to use it? It feels like a cosmic joke meant to mock his suffering. Depressed and feeling like the universe is playing a cruel joke on him, Gongja wanders the streets. As he walks through the dark, secluded alleyway, he hears a commotion. He peeks around the corner, and his blood runs cold. Standing in the alleyway is his idol, the Flame Emperor, Yosoha. But the number one hero of humanity isn't fighting a monster. He is standing over the beloved saintess. Gongja watches in absolute horror as the Flame Emperor, displaying an arrogant, opportunistic, and sociopathic personality completely hidden from the public eye, brutally burns the saintess alive because he found out she was planning to poison his drink. The world's greatest hero is actually a narcissistic, psychopathic who kills innocent people just to protect his secrets. Gongja is frozen, unable to breathe as the flames light up in the dark. Gongja tries to quietly escape the scene, but he is caught. Yosoha doesn't hesitate or show any mercy. He kills Gongja on the spot. A system message chimes in the darkness. You have died. The activation condition for the skill I want to become just like you has been met. You have been killed by the hunter Yosoha. Gongja's consciousness floats in the void. Because of his skill, he now gets to copy one of the Flame Emperor's abilities. He sees a golden card that defies all logic. A card with a rank that shouldn't exist. EX rank. Returner's Clockwork Watch. The description reveals the horrifying truth. By using this skill, the user returns 24 hours prior if they die. This was Yusuha's ultimate secret move. This was how he always knew what was going to happen, why he never lost, and how he knew the Saintess was going to poison him. He would just die and try again. Without hesitation, Gongja selects the EX rank skill. Suddenly, time violently rewinds. Gongja snaps awake in his moldy apartment, alive, exactly 24 hours prior. He didn't die permanently, and he now possesses the greatest cheat skill in human history. The power of time is now in his hands. He decides right then and there he is going to get revenge and kill Yosoha. But there's a massive problem. If he tries to kill Yosoha now, Yosoha will just use his own regression skill, go back 24 hours, and hunt Gongja down. Yosoha is vastly stronger and more experienced. There is only one foolproof way to permanently end the Flame Emperor. Gongja must go back in time to a point before Yosoha awakened his regression skill. Gongja does the math. Yosoha is 32 years old right now. He needs to go back 11 years. Since his skill brings him back exactly 24 hours every time he dies, to rewind 11 years, he has to die 4,050 times. Gongja takes a deep breath, grips his knife, and begins the most horrifying grind in manhwa history. The montage of death that follows is harrowing. 100 deaths, 500 deaths, 1,000 deaths. 3,000 deaths. Every single time, the blade sinks deep, the cold steel cutting his flesh over and over until his mind is entirely numb to the pain. After exactly 4,050 agonizing deaths, Gongja opened his eyes. He has successfully traveled 11 years into the past. He tracks down a 21-year-old Yosoha at the second floor hunting ground, where the future tyrant is currently just a foul-mouthed F-class hunter hunting slimes. Gongja approaches him, intentionally covered in his own blood. He plays the role of a desperate, wounded hunter, pleading with Yosoha for a healing potion and promising him money in exchange. But true to his ruthless nature, Yusuha refuses. Instead of helping, Yusuha takes out his blade, intending to just kill the wounded man and loot his corpse. But Gongja is ready. With the reflexes of a man who has experienced death thousands of times, Gongja acts faster. He delivers a brutal kick straight to Yusuha's crotch, crippling him with pain, and then mercilessly stabs him. The Flame Emperor is dead, erased from history before he ever even became a threat. The timeline is broken, and the future is completely changed. Feeling victorious, Gongja goes to a local bar to celebrate. While there, a man walks in, Marcus Callenbury, who is currently the rank 1 hunter in this era. Seeing an opportunity, Gongja follows Marcus when he leaves the bar, intending to purposely get killed by the rank 1 hunter so he can copy an incredibly powerful offensive skill to aid his climb. Marcus quickly notices he's being followed and calls Gongja out. Using his B rank skill, Detective's Insight, Marcus checks Gongja's stats. The skill reveals the person's intentional kill count. Marcus looks at Gongja and is completely horrified to see a kill count of 4,091. Marcus has no idea that almost all of these numbers are Gongja killing himself. Mistaking Gongja for a first-rate, cold-blooded assassin sent by the Black Dragon Guild, Marcus immediately executes him, beheading Gongja with a firm slash of his sword. Gongja dies and expects to receive an S-rank skill from the great rank 1 hunter, but to his shock, Marcus doesn't actually have any S-rank skill. Forced to choose from what is available, Gongja picks an A+ rank skill named Sword Constellation. When Gongja regresses 24 hours to before he was beheaded, he suddenly hears a loud, arrogant voice talking beside him. The skill he copied wasn't an attack. It was a spirit. Floating beside him is a spectral, silver-haired old man from another world. This is the Sword Emperor, Bei Huryong. In his own world, the Sword Emperor cleared the tower up to the 99th floor, but failed on the 100th, becoming a spirit unable to give up on his earthly desires. And now, thanks to the skill, he is bound to Gongja. The Sword Emperor is loud, complains constantly, and loves to bicker. But Gongja realizes that this ghost is the perfect teacher. Under the Sword Emperor's guidance, Gongja begins to train his aura and swordsmanship, using his regression to infinitely heal and perfect his techniques. Death becomes his ultimate training ground. This brings us to the monumental 10th floor of the tower. In the original timeline, the 10th floor was a massive wall for hunters. It was known as the Hellfire Mansion, governed by a terrifying boss monster, known as Hellfire Maiden. The Black Dragon Guild failed to clear it countless times until Yosoha eventually did it. Gongja enters the 10th floor and immediately faces the intense, suffocating heat of the mansion. During his first attempt, his aura drops, and he is burned to death by the Hellfire Maiden. But in death, Gongja copies a skill from the boss, Night and Day Fire Caution, which grants him immunity to fire. More importantly, because of the profound connection made through his copying skill, Gongja experiences the boss monster's memories. He learns the tragic backstory of the Hellfire Mansion and the Hellfire Maiden. Before she was a monster, she was a starving orphan girl on the first floor. A wealthy noble, known as the Kind Mister, took her in, but the kindness was a facade. The Kind Mister took orphans down into his basement where they were tied up, tortured, and starved. One night, a fire broke out. The noble and his servants fled, leaving the tied up children to burn alive. The orphan girl, who just wanted to live and play, died in the flames, her soul warping into the Hellfire Maiden out of sheer trauma and rage, surrounded by thousands of dolls representing the dead children. The dark, heavy smoke in his vision carries the weight of her tears. Armed with the fire immunity and a deep empathy for the monster's suffering, Gongja regresses and re enters the Hellfire Mansion. He doesn't draw his sword. Instead, he walks through the burning inferno, approaching the thousands of dolls scattered throughout the mansion. One by one, he gently pats every single doll's head, comforting the souls of the children. He walks all the way down into the horrific basement and finds the last doll. As he comforts it, the doll looks at Gongja, thanks him, and peacefully melts away. The flames die down. The trauma is healed. Without shedding a single drop of blood, Gongja clears the 10th floor. The beginning arc closes with Gongja standing in the ashes of the Hellfire Mansion. He is no longer just a bitter loser out for revenge. He is the suicide hunter, a man who will own his own agonizing deaths to understand his enemies, heal their trauma, and completely rewrite the history of the tower. And that brings us to the end of the first arc. Now let's spill some extra tea on why this opening is so incredible. First, we have to look at the subversion of the classic weak to strong trope. Usually, a main character wants to save the entire world or protect their family, but Kim Gong-ja starts with pure, unfiltered, toxic envy. He is such a hater that the universe has to step in and give him a power. That dark comedy is so refreshing. Second, the way his power works is completely mental. Dying once is the most terrifying thing imaginable. But to willingly stab yourself over 4,000 times? That crosses the line from being determined into absolute madness. It shows that Gongja's real superpower isn't the system, it's his unbreakable willpower. Finally, the lore of the Hellfire Maiden is incredibly dark. Most hunters would just use brute force to smash the boss and claim the loot, but Gongja uses his deaths to understand the monster's pain. He clears the floor with empathy rather than violence, and that perfectly sets the tone for the rest of this journey. What do you think so far? Comment down below and let me know. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Bye! If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more manga, manhwa, and webtoon summaries. And I'll see you next time.